As you can see here, this is Canelo Alvarez face-to-face with Ilunga Makabu at the WBC convention. And people talking about how incredible it is, Canelo stepping up to cruiserweight. Makabu's this huge guy, much bigger than him. Well, yeah, Makabu is naturally heavier than Canelo Alvarez for sure. But when it comes to height, there isn't actually that much in it. Canelo is what, 5'7", maybe? I know he's listed at like 5'9", probably closer to 5'7". Now, in this particular frame, it makes it look like Makabu is barely an inch taller than Canelo. In other frames, he does look taller than that. I would say Makabu is probably close to the 6 foot that they say he is. Maybe he's 5'11", something like that, but, you know, not too far off 6 foot. So he will be a few inches taller than Canelo, but it's nothing crazy. As I mentioned in a previous video, Canelo has fought lots of guys taller than Makabu. So this idea, because there was somebody in the comments of one of my recent videos saying, yeah, but how many 5'7" cruiserweights? How many of those guys who stepped all the way up through the weight divisions and fought at cruiserweight and heavyweight, how many of them were 5'7"? Well, how many of them fought somebody as short as Ilunga Makabu when they stepped up to cruiserweight? Have you considered that? How many of them fought somebody as small at cruiserweight as Ilunga Makabu? This is not a big cruiserweight. This is a guy who turned pro at light heavyweight and gradually moved up to the cruiserweight division and was fighting as low as 193 against Tabiso Machunu in the fight before Tony Bellew. So this is not a big guy. And I'm not trying to denigrate Canelo or anything like that. I'm just giving you the real. Telling you the reality, the facts. The facts are, yes, Makabu is bigger than Canelo. He can punch. He's a tough guy for sure. And he can fight. Don't get it twisted. I was speaking in previous videos about how I don't rate Makabu technically. But in terms of his heart, in terms of his toughness, his punching power, his strength, oh yeah, he can fight. No doubt about it. And he is dangerous for Canelo. There's no question he's dangerous. But skill-wise, I don't think this is remotely close between them. I think Canelo is just in a completely different universe to Ilunga Makabu skill-wise. I see this as something similar to the James Kirkland fight, actually. Don't get it twisted. Makabu is better than Kirkland, not just because he's bigger and stronger and tougher, but I do think he's technically a bit better than Kirkland. But I see it as a similar stylistic matchup, with Canelo being the much sharper, technically better fighter, using the uppercut, I think, effectively against Ilunga Makabu, walking him onto shots, outboxing him. People are talking about Canelo maybe walking Makabu down. That would be surprising to me. That would be surprising, at least early on in the fight. I would expect Canelo to go back to what he used to do, like let's say in the first Triple G fight or against James Kirkland, and that's allow Makabu to come to him and just pick him off. Anyway, the fight may not happen. It's a potential fight. It's a fight Canelo's clearly interested in. But between now and whenever Canelo fights next, something else might pop up and he might go in a different direction. We'll see. But yeah, just to show you guys what these two look like face to face, it isn't David versus Goliath. Canelo has fought much taller guys than this before. When Canelo was fighting Callum Smith, for example, there was a huge difference in height. With Makabu, it's nowhere near that type of difference. He's 5'11", 6 feet tall, something like that. Gonna weigh, I mean, he says he's gonna weigh 200 pounds. Yet he's weighed 200 pounds, what, a tiny handful of times in his career? And by the way, that's another thing. Makabu says that there isn't gonna be any catch weight in this fight. He says that it's gonna be at 200 pounds. So again, people talking about the WBC lowering their cruiserweight limit to 190 back to what it used to be. Makabu clearly didn't get that memo because he says the fight's going to be at 200 pounds. So again, I know you've got Mike Coppinger and various other people saying that this is what the WBC are going to do, but they've been saying they were going to do this for at least a year and they still haven't done it. So how do we know that they're going to do it for this fight? You know, it's just conjecture at this point. The WBC haven't said anything about it on their website, so, you know, I don't know why people are acting like it's definite and it's set in stone when it hasn't been yet. If it happens or when it happens, cool. We'll talk about it then. But for now, the WBC cruiserweight division limit is still 200 pounds. It says so on their rankings. It says so on their website. Now, Canelo says he would come in around 180 pounds if he is to fight Ilunga Makabu rather than bulking up, trying to get close to 200 pounds. And I think that's the right decision. I don't like this mindset that some fighters have, whereby if they step up in weight, they feel like they need to bulk right up to the division limit. I think this is a mistake. At least in most instances, you should be fighting at your optimum weight, not putting more muscle on than your body was designed to carry. So Canelo will basically be fighting in the ring at the exact same weight that he weighs when he's light heavyweight. Maybe slightly heavier. You know, he says 180, and perhaps he'll be that, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him come in maybe 185, 186, because I think that he might be that kind of weight when he fights at light heavyweight. I don't think 180 is the highest Canelo's ever been in the ring for one of his fights at lower weight divisions. I think he's come in heavier than that before in the ring. And so, as I say, don't be surprised if for the Makabu fight he weighs in over 180, let's say closer to 185, which would mean that there'd be maybe a 10-pound weight difference between the two fighters in the ring, because as I've previously explained, Makabu is a small cruiserweight who makes weight easily. He's not draining himself to get down under 200 pounds. This guy weighs, what, 3-4 pounds under the limit for most of his fights? And for some fights, it's been even more than that. If you're weighing in 3-4 pounds under the limit, that means that's the weight you are fully hydrated. Because why else would you come in that far under the limit? It would make no sense if you're actually in the ring fully hydrated 210, but yet you're weighing in 3-4 pounds under the cruise. What that doesn't make any sense. So no, this is what Makabu actually is in the ring. 196 pounds, 197 pounds for his last couple fights. That's what he's actually weighing in the ring, there or thereabouts. So there'll be a 10-pound, 15-pound at most weight difference between the two fighters. But the dimensions of Makabu, his height, his reach, all that kind of stuff, is not going to be anything we haven't seen Canelo in the ring with before. It's just going to be the weight, the power, and the toughness of Makabu, because he's used to getting hit by cruiserweights. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments below.